Well, thank you, Craig. Umingmuk, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with everybody today on community perspectives in Arctic science. And I wouldn't normally write my words down, but I felt like this one was important enough. I needed to have some structure to what I was going to say. So as Craig mentioned, I'm Nagruk Harcharek. I'm currently the Vice President of Private Equity and Arctic Development for Inupiat Corporation. I started my career at UIC as a UIC Science Project Manager back in 2013 and was moved into the General Manager position in about 2016 and then served as the Director of Barrow Operations, where I continued to serve as the General Manager for UIC Science. I managed all the operations at the Barrow Arctic Research Center and facilitated all the science that came through our department and have enjoyed every bit of it since. And even though I'm not still the General Manager, I'm obviously here and I still want to be involved and really enjoy it. My Western career officially started in the 90s when I was with a few friends and we had a run-in with some baby snowy owls out towards the point. We thought it'd be a good idea to have snowy owls as pets. So we took the snowy owls, brought them to my buddy's house. We threw them in an action packer and started feeding them whatever we could find in his refrigerator. We all left his house and I went home and we all went to sleep, and inevitably his mother found the snowy owls because they were making noise. They were hungry, and she got a hold of the vet clinic that then got a hold of the wildlife department. And we just so happened to have a snowy owl expert in town, Denver Holt, who was contacted, retrieved the baby snowy owls, put them in kennels, brought them to the ARF, and he wanted to reintroduce them to the parents. So we tried to get a hold of everybody that was involved, and my buddies, they all thought they were going to get in trouble, so they passed. And my mom, I remember the moment she came into the bedroom, I did not have a choice. I was getting out of that bed and I was going to help this gentleman out at the ARF. So I got up, didn't have a choice, thought I was going to be in a lot of trouble, but turned out in the end they just needed some help. Got onto my ATV, rode out to the ARF, met Denver, and we kind of began the process. I got an introductory lesson in snowy owl biology, and over the course of a couple of hours, that was a lesson on the biology and also why it's not a good idea to want to try to keep snowy owls as pets, which we kind of found out that night. After that initial classroom session, we drove out to the location from which we took the birds to begin the reintroduction, and it just so happened the parents were still around. We only took 3 of what happened to be 4, so they were still there, which was good. We let them out of the cages and they kind of flapped around. The parents came in, and once we knew that it was going to be successful, we took the chicks and we banded them. He happened to have a National Geographic photographer there at the time, so I should have brought some photos. But if you go to the wildlife department, there's a picture of me on the wall with Denver Holt banding these snowy owl chicks, and Craig knows that. Yeah, that's the yeah, hard lesson to learn that I hope to not have my own children repeat. So I better start telling them that story. But kind of funny, it all comes around full circle, right? Going back to the chance happenings that Richard was talking about. I got hired on in 2013 with UIC Science. 2014, Denver Holt's in town, and I tell the story of our run-in with Cindy Shake, who at the time was our marketing director, and she said, "Well, you have to go back out, and you have to go to Denver, and you have to go ban chicks again." So Denver says, and they had a camouflage hut there at the time with some cameras, and they were filming the owls throughout the summer. Happened to be in the just about the exact same area that I was in when I took the owl chicks. So we went out there. I went with Denver. We had somebody taking pictures, and we're banding the birds. And the mom, probably not the same one, but it felt like it came down, hit me on the back with her talons, put a big hole in my sweatshirt. So she finally got her revenge about 20 years later. So that was that introduction. Just funny how, 15, 20 years later kind of came full circle. But as an Inupiat who grew up in a subsistence lifestyle, my lessons and our lessons on nature and science begin very early on in life. Starting at camp, hunting caribou, drying fish, eventually you work your way up and become useful enough to go out on the sea ice with the whaling crew, which is quite the honor. Even though your first job is to chop ice and make coffee, you're just happy to be a part of that whole operation. The lessons learned throughout Inupiat life, at least growing up from as formal, if not more than classroom learning in a university setting. In some respects, they're more effective due to the on-the-job training aspects. Constantly observe and listen to all the things going on around you, including the stories that, you know, the adults around you are just kind of laughing about. You're paying attention. You become aware of the different plant species, animals, migration patterns, weather conditions, ice conditions, river conditions, and many other factors that are important to subsistence survival. The lessons that we learned growing up make us the experts in the Arctic that we are today. I have to say that today, I think life is a lot easier due to the introduction of technology into our subsistence life. One of the most humbling things I've ever done is pick up a book or stories or journals and read stories from the pretty recent past, last 150 years, and read the challenges our ancestors faced. As soon as you have things, you think you have things figured out, you read one of the stories and realize how easy we do have it. Hunting a whale without modern technology took more patience, trial and error, sacrifice, and guts than I can ever imagine today. How many people sacrificed their lives just to in this endeavor to figure out how to do that, to be able to feed the communities like they did. Even traveling from one location to another in search of food could be a life-threatening event. It took time, perseverance to figure out how to live and feed your families and to keep them alive throughout the years. What it amounts to is it took research. Research in the form of constant observation and data collection over millennia and passed down from generation to generation through stories and on-the-job training. There were no data centers back then or books to store all the data. You not only had to record that data, but you were required to be able to recall past observations to continue moving forward efficiently, much like we do with the modern science today. Fast forward to 1944 in the building of the Arctic Research Laboratory. A lot of people showed up that had little idea of what they were walking into, no idea the challenges they were about to face, even with the modern technology they brought with them. It took time, but eventually these people at the ARL found out that the local Inupiat people had something they lacked, experience in the Arctic. An Arctic database with information collected over previous millennia. This data they lacked was right down the beach in the community of Harcharek and in the minds of the local Inupiat people. People like Pete Suvaluk, who we heard about today, Harry Brower Sr., Kenneth Tuvok, Simon Punyat, and many more. Many of my elders, our elders, and at the time locals, looking to support their families and subsistence lifestyle with jobs in this new Western world thrusted upon them. Our elders were integral members of the ARL team and created efficiencies that would not have been realized otherwise. They supported ice islands, being the first ones out and the last ones back, something that we continue to do today with ISEX. 2018, a project was slapped on my desk and they said, can you do this? And it was to support the Underwater Warfare Development Center, put an ice camp out on the ice about 180 miles off Prudhoe Bay. And I said, absolutely. I just read the title. I didn't even get into the logistic requirements in it. Absolutely, we can do it. And 6 months later, we had a contract on our desk to continue that. So that was a little nostalgic for me after reading a lot of the stories from Dave Norton's book about and hearing from Richard about those past experiences. One quote I enjoy reading to folks comes from Tom Albert as he speaks about Harry Brower Sr. And I'm going to have the article, I think, posted by Karen Brewster. She wrote one after the 50th anniversary. I'm going to make sure to put it out here for everybody. But one of the many quotes out of that was, we spent many years and much money confirming in a scientific manner his basic field observations. This knowledge transfer began the long tradition of co-production of Arctic research on the North Slope that we hope to carry into the future. I analogize Collaboration between Western science and traditional knowledge to vision. If we humans only had one eye, you'd lack depth perception. If everybody tried to close one eye, you'd lack that depth perception. And it'd be difficult to operate in the world. By combining the two perspectives, it's like opening both eyes. The world is more clear and it appears larger. More comprehensive questions can then be asked and answered more effectively. This all leads to a clear picture of the world in which we all live today. The relationships that were sewn together that allowed for this knowledge transfer are the foundation for which we operate UIC Science on today. The incorporation of traditional knowledge enhances the science we support. If we can assist in making a project more efficient, more data is collected, and the better the science is. If we can pass on basic observations that allow for more directed and efficient science plan, we do it. And if the science that we're supporting has a tangible benefit to our communities, we will assist in that communication to make sure our leaders can capitalize on that information. Our communities benefit from the science we support, and the science we support benefits from our many years of Arctic experience and expertise. Throughout my career in science, I've learned to be a better observer and find myself looking at the world through both lenses when out subsisting. It's increased my own knowledge about our world by appreciating other perspectives. It's a symbiotic relationship that I wish to continue to nourish as we move forward. So please, as we discuss topics throughout the week and go into breakout sessions later on, remember that there is a database of Inupiat knowledge stored in the minds of the people in the villages in which you operate. Thank you.